Are you wasting half of your free consultation meetings on people who are never going to buy? Or worse, who leave the meeting with unmet expectations, maybe even a little mad? If you're wondering how to make sure that never happens to you, stay with me. I've got a great way to filter out the tire kickers, build trust before the meeting, and make the actual conversation go so much easier for you and for your prospect. I tell you, this idea is so strong that people told me that they decided to work with me before we even met because of it. Hey, Coach, I'm Ronnie Noyes, and over the last few videos, we've talked about how to sell transparently, respectfully, and confidently. And one of the best ways to set up a successful sales consultation or free discovery session, whatever you like to call it, is to set appropriate expectations. So today, I'm sharing exactly how I set up expectations when someone booked a consultation with me. Spoiler alert, it's an email, but not just any email. I'm going to break it down section by section so you can adapt it for your own business. By the end of this video, you'll have a template you can start using today. Let me walk you through it. Okay, so before we get into what's in the email, first let's talk about why you need it in the first place. Here's what happens when you don't send a confirmation message like this. Somebody books a meeting with you. Maybe you're calling it a discovery session or consultation or whatever. Maybe they fill out a form. Maybe you send them a calendar link or some sort of meeting confirmation text. And then they show up for the meeting with no idea what's really going to happen. They don't know if you're just going to pitch them or just chat. They don't know what questions you're going to ask. They haven't even thought about their goals or their budget. They're completely unprepared. Or maybe they've got wildly inappropriate expectations, like a free coaching session that's going to solve all of their problems in 30 minutes. Ouch. That means you have to spend the first 15 minutes of the meeting just getting them oriented, explaining what you do, asking basic questions, trying to figure out if they're even serious. And a lot of times, you get to the end of the meeting and realize they were never going to buy anyway. They can't afford it. They're not ready. They were just curious. Or they just wanted some free coaching or to pick your brain. That's a wasted hour. And if you're doing 3 or 4 consultations a week, that's 3 or 4 wasted hours every single week. That's lost opportunity, lost income. And to add insult, injury, when their expectations aren't met, they're unhappy. And unhappy people complain, sometimes on social media, which does your reputation no favors. But when you send this email, everything changes. Because by the time they show up for the meeting, they already know what to expect. They're already prepared. They've already thought about whether they're serious. And more importantly, the people who aren't serious don't show up at all. So maybe you end up with fewer consultations at first, but way higher conversion rates because you're only talking to people who actually are ready to invest. All right, so let's break down what's actually in this email. I'm going to go section by section and I'll explain what each part does and why it matters. Section 1, the thank you and reminder. The email starts simple. You thank them for scheduling the consultation, which confirms that it is a consultation and not a coaching session. You tell them that you're happy they chose you as a resource, because you are, and you make it clear that there's no charge for the meeting. Why does this matter? Because it sets the tone. You're not desperate. You're not pushy. You're grateful for their interest, and you're making it clear that they're not going to get hit with a surprise fee. Because sadly, this happens. I know this because I was an officer in my local coaches association, and people used to call me and email to complain about other coaches that did that, thinking that I could do something about it, like get their money back. But back to the example. Here's what it might look like. Dear first name, thanks for scheduling your consultation with me. I'm happy you chose me as a resource, and I'll do my best to help you identify your options. As we discussed, there will be no charge for this meeting. See how that works? It's warm, professional, clear. And then you say something like this. Please read this entire email and reply to confirm your acceptance of the terms. Now, you might think that's overkill, but here's what it does. It makes sure they actually read the email, because if they don't reply, you know they didn't read it at all. And that tells you something about how serious they are. This is probably the most important section. This is where you tell them exactly what's going to happen in the meeting. And you need to be really specific here. You tell them that the reason you're meeting is to discuss their next steps, to figure out where they are now, where they want to be, and whether it makes sense to work together. You make it clear that You're meeting to talk about solving the problem, not resolving the issue in this meeting. You tell them how long the meeting is going to take. You tell them at the end of the meeting, you'll have at least one recommendation for them about their options. And you tell them that you'll share information about your fees. We're talking full disclosure up front. You say something like this: although I do have programs for business owners like you. Okay, time out. I said business owners because that was my market. But you're going to customize this phrase to your market, like working moms, midlife career changers, or whatever, just so they see and understand that you do work with people like them. But back to the messaging. Although I do have programs for business owners like you, working with me is not the right solution for everyone. What this means to you is that I will invite you to work with me only if I truly believe my services are your best option. If my services are not right for you for whatever reason, I will suggest that you work with someone else. And if I do that, I will give you specific referrals. This is huge. This is where you set the expectation that you're not going to pressure them, that you're actually looking out for their best interest, that if you're not the right fit, you'll tell them. And then you say something even more important that again sets a very significant expectation. If I do recommend that you work with someone else, please understand that it's not because I don't like you, but because my priority in this meeting is to find the best solution for you and your goals, whether or not that includes my services. Read that again. That right there is what builds trust. That's what makes people relax. That's what makes them think, okay, this coach is different. This coach actually cares about me and not about just making a sale. Next, you give them the basics: time, date, location, link. Make it super clear. No confusion about where they're supposed to be or when. And if it's in person, give them a Google Maps link. If it's virtual, give them the Zoom link and any other instructions they need. Simple, straightforward, professional. Do not make them work any harder than they have to. And yeah, they probably already have this information in the confirmation text or email from your booking app, but including it here as well is a very good idea. Section 4, preparation. This section is where you ask them to prepare for the meeting. You say something like, 30 minutes may sound like a lot of time, but it goes by really quickly, and I want to be sure you get exactly what you're looking for from our time together. To prepare for this meeting, I strongly recommend that you write down your thoughts and any questions you have for me before we meet. And then you give them specific questions to think about, like, where are you right now versus where you want to be? What's in your way of getting there? Why is this a priority for you now? When you reach this goal, what will it be worth to you? How will you know you're successful? Now, your questions may be a little different, but these are good as a starting place. Now, not everyone's going to actually think about these questions before you get together, but the ones who do, they're your best prospects. They're serious, they're thinking about this, they're invested, and when you ask these questions in the meeting, they're not caught off guard or wasting time telling pointless stories that eat up time. Section 5, expectations. Now, this whole email is about expectations. And this part is where you clearly set expectations for what they can expect from you and what you expect from them. Obviously, you say whatever is true and makes sense for you, but I thought you'd want to see a version of my expectations. Here's what you can expect from me. I'll be on time and prepared. I'll be fully present and focused on you. I'll be completely honest and direct. I'll be unconditionally constructive. I'll ask questions and make requests. I'll share resources and information. I'll give you the best advice I can. I'll keep everything confidential. I'll fully disclose my fees. And here's what I expect from you. Show up on time and prepared. Be honest and open about your goals and needs. Be succinct and willing to talk frankly. Be willing to listen even if you don't like what I say. Be fully responsible for your own decisions. See what this does? It positions you as a professional who has standards. It shows that you respect yourself and your time, and it filters out people who aren't willing to meet those standards. If someone reads this and thinks, wow, this is too much, they're not going to show up, and that's perfect, because it's likely that they would have been a problem client anyway. And who needs that drama? Section 6, contact info and policies. At the end, you give them all your contact information: phone, email, website, street address if you have an office. And then you include your cancellation policy. This is important. You might say something like, if you miss or cancel this appointment without 48 hours notice, a credit card will be required to reschedule. If that appointment is missed or canceled without 48 hours notice, your card will be charged. Now, you might think this is harsh, but here's what it does. It makes people take the appointment seriously. It filters out people who are just going to waste your time, and it protects your schedule. And your schedule is revenue. Section 7, the close. And then you close with something warm and encouraging. Something like, thanks for booking your consultation. I look forward to getting together with you and exploring what's possible when we put our brilliant heads together. Warm, professional, enthusiastic. That's the note you want to end on. I mean, unless it's not. Write whatever reflects your personality, professionalism, and commitment. And if you want to copy what I wrote word for word, go for it. What this email accomplishes. Okay, so let's talk about what this email actually does for you. And again, this could also be a personal video, but there's really just too much that needs to be said to make it a text. Or please know, do not send this as an attachment because they will not read it. Seriously. Now, first, it filters out people who aren't serious. If someone reads this email and decides not to show up, yeah, that's great. That's an hour of your life you just saved. Second, it builds massive trust before the meeting even happens because you've been so transparent and professional. You've shown them exactly what to expect. You've told them you're not going to pressure them. You've set yourself up as someone who has their best interests at heart. Third, it prepares them for the conversation. They've thought about their goals. They've thought about their budget. They've thought about their timeline. So when you get into the meeting, you can go deep right away. Fourth, it makes you look incredibly professional. Most coaches don't do this. Most coaches send a basic calendar confirmation and that's it. So when you send this detailed email, you immediately stand out as someone who knows what they're doing. And fifth, it makes the actual sales conversation so much easier because all the groundwork has been laid. They know what's coming. They know you're going to make them an offer if appropriate. They know you're not going to pressure them. So when you get to that point in the conversation, it's natural, it's expected, and it is not awkward. How to adapt this for your business. Now, you don't have to copy my email word for word. You should adapt it to fit your style and your business. But do feel free to swipe any words or phrases that work for you and feel consistent with your vibe. And I know it's long, but there's a specific reason to include every one of these elements. Thank them and set initial expectations. Explain the meeting purpose in detail. Assure them you won't pressure them. Give them the logistics. Ask them to prepare with specific questions. Set mutual expectations. Include your contact info and policies, and close warmly. If you do that, you'll have an email that does exactly what mine does. Filters, it builds trust, and it prepares. What's interesting is that while my closing rate was already phenomenal, many new clients told me that they actually made the decision to work with me when they read this email. Now, a few people didn't bother to read it and found it to be too much, and that's okay with me. If we're not a good fit, I'd rather know sooner than later, wouldn't you? Okay, so here's your next step. Take this framework and write your own consultation confirmation email or even a video script. Adapt it to your style. Use your own words, but include all the key elements that we talked about. And then start sending it to everyone who books a consultation with you, every single person, no exceptions. I promise you, your consultations will get so much better. Your conversion rate will skyrocket, and you'll stop wasting time on people who are never going to buy in the first place. And even better, you'll have great clients who respect your boundaries and your professionalism. Hey, coach, before you go, please like, subscribe, and consider sharing this video with a coach you know who's been struggling with sales consultations. That's your good deed for the day. Thanks for watching. I'm Ronnie Noyes reminding you that today is a great day to be a coach.